Do you feel isolated, worn out, and disconnected from the life you used to enjoy? Maybe your friends invite you to go hiking or play pickleball, and you say no, not because you don't want to go, but because you know you won't be able to keep up. You watch their lives move forward while you quietly sit it out, feeling embarrassed by how much your body has changed. Maybe you feel a shift in your marriage. You're tired. You don't feel attractive. The energy and confidence aren't there, and intimacy doesn't feel the way it used to, even if you never talk about it out loud. Or maybe you love your grandchildren, but you hesitate to say yes to watching them because deep down, a whole weekend would be too much. Sometimes your daughter already sees that, and that can hurt in ways that are hard to explain. If any of this feels familiar, you don't have to figure it out alone. Send me an email and share a little bit about what you've experiencing. What's been frustrating, where you feel stuck, and what are you longing to change? I read every message personally, and my intention is to give you something useful you can implement right away. Email me at heike@heikeyates.com. This can be the beginning of a new chapter, one where your body supports the life you want rather than holding you back. Have you ever finally said what you needed to say, calmly, clearly, and still walked away feeling smaller? You weren't emotional, you weren't attacking, you handled it well, and somehow you felt unsettled afterwards, like you did it right and it still didn't feel right. If that is happening to you, this matters because speaking up in midlife isn't the problem. The problem is that you're still trying to stay acceptable while you do it. If you've been telling yourself it's fine, but deep down you know something needs to change, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Pursue Your Spark podcast, and I'm your host, Heike Yates. This is a show for the in-between seasons of midlife, where we uncover the habits and comfort zones keeping you stuck and move you towards strength and action without forcing a reinvention. In our last episode, we talked about what happens when wanting more in midlife starts feeling wrong. When women slowly go quiet, not because they lost their ability, but they've absorbed the message that they should, the favorite should word again, want less in midlife. But silence isn't the only way we disappear in midlife, because silence often feels safer than tension. And I said it, you said it, we all said it. Anybody listening to this episode, we all have said it before. I'm fine. When we feel we don't want to address something that we may have said a couple of times already and our needs weren't addressed, then the it's fine turns into the silent inward tension. Now we're trying to keep things smooth because it feels easier than risking conflict. Some days we're just not risk forward, and we rather step back and wait maybe for the right moment to address a conflict, even in small things like who takes out the trash and where do we put things when we're done using them can be a conflict that gnaws on us on the inside. And most of us withdraw instead of explode, because exploding outward is never productive. It may feel good at the moment, but if the conflict is with another person, usually we say things that are hurtful, that are not productive for what we want to say. But sometimes we do speak up. But funny enough, we still shrink on the inside because what we're saying is not truly what we want to say at that moment. And that is the next layer I want to look at is, why are we shrinking and why do we stay quiet and staying acceptable while you speak? And when I'm talking about staying acceptable while you speak, this rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. What does it even mean staying acceptable? By whose standards? By your standards? By the people around you? By your boss? By your husband or wife? And I've given it some thought, what we do, because we all do it. I do it. And I'm glad I get to talk about this on the show today because I see it so much. When we speak or speak up, we worry about how we are seen. What do people think about us when we speak? And I just recently became a member and a speaker with the Capital Women Speaker Club, as you may have found out on social media. And I have the opportunity to speak at club functions. And I'm starting small, so 3-minute speeches whenever I can grab a slot or when I've gotten a slot. And I stand on the podium and I look at the people, and I know these people in front of me are super friendly. They're welcoming. They will not judge me. But I still worry. What do they think about what I say, how I say it? Will it be something that's valuable to them? Or do they think, oh my God, what is she talking about? So we're judging ourselves. And also, in the same token, we want to look competent. Like in my example, I want to stand on the stage and know what I'm talking about. So I rehearse a lot. And when we go away from the stage and we talk to our boss or our husbands and wives or anybody in your life, we don't want to sound dramatic and over the top. Maybe we feel that a little bit deep down, and then we're worried. Yes, we're worried that we're labeled as being too much. Oh, look at her. She's way too much. And too much can be a good thing and a negative thing. But in this case, it would be more of a, oh, she's way out of her league. She's too much. She's just not getting the approval, or we're not getting the approval that we seek, that we truly want, and that we worked hard for. So what do we do instead of letting it all out? We soften our tones. We pipe down. We over-explain. We justify our feelings. How many times have you done that? I've done this a lot. We're cushioning our words, and we adjust mid-sentence, making sure that we sound reasonable. You speak, but you don't stand fully in your power. You don't stand fully what you really want to say, and you'd rather be acceptable than being you. Quick pause, it's Heike. I just want to share this with you because I know many of us are feeling stuck in midlife, even if we don't talk about it out loud. That's why I wrote Pursue Your Spark. It's honest, it's simple, and it walks you through 5 big traps we fall into, like comparison and never feeling like we're doing enough. There are also 6 worksheets inside, so you're not just reading, you're actually figuring things out in your real life. I wrote it for women like you and me. If that feels like something you need, the link to get the book is in the show notes. I remember the moment where I had a dreaded conversation with my back then manager at the health club that I was working for. I'd been there for 8 years and brought my kids to the club. I grew in the club as a director, added on more personal training, and had a solid position at the club. And then I introduced Pilates to this club. And Pilates, as you guys may have heard, really spoke to me. And I wanted to pursue Pilates and stop managing. I had a staff of 34 teachers that were under my tutelage, and I was ready to move on. I wanted to spread my wings and deep dive into Pilates. So I decided to leave the club. Oh my God, I dreaded it for weeks and weeks. I truly believed that this is the right move for me to get out from that 8 years of safety into more something independent. I was really worried what I would say to my manager. She was a very stern, probably still is, woman who had a tight fist on the management of the club. And I was worried, how she would perceive me after all she's given me and after all the support I got from her and all the things I've learned. And I learned a lot about management and working with people. I softened my message. I wanted to make sure that I sounded grateful and that I didn't leave any bad message behind me and that she would give me a good recommendation. I was so worried. I was a big old chicken. I felt smaller afterwards. I was not protecting how I was seen and the capable coach and manager that I had become. I went back to little old Heike and was saying, yeah, well, I really want to do this and I want to make sure that, and I had all these things that I explained. And afterwards, I could have kicked my butt ski. I didn't stand up for what I truly wanted to say. I was grateful. I loved working there. But that I was coming into my new me, that I would speak up for what I truly believe in. And I know so many of you can see yourself in that story in different situations. I thought about why this pattern makes sense in midlife, that we want to be accommodating and soothing. It's not weakness, but it makes so much sense because we've built relationships that we cherish, relationships we want to continue in a good way. And that the stability we've developed in our relationships with our partners and other people really matters to us. As we get older, we need that stability. And that when we get dramatic, it feels almost expensive. It almost feels like we're giving away a lot because our energy is limited. And when we're giving away a lot and we're being dramatic, we exhaust our energy. We don't feel so good afterwards. And I don't know about you, but I don't want unnecessary conflict. I'm actually a conflict avoider if I can help it. But sometimes conflict is good and it's necessary. You want to make sure also you don't want to damage what you've built. You want to keep everything at a status quo. You don't want to look foolish, as I said earlier. And also you don't want to be misunderstood. So clarity becomes really a big part of how we speak up in midlife. And what are we saying to stay true to ourselves? Because protecting how we are perceived feels that we're mature, we know what we're doing. We're in our midlife, wherever you are with your age, and that we're responsible and that we're smart. It's all the things that either that has been watered down from our mothers and grandmothers or from society, that we always should be mature, responsible, and smart. But steady, going forward this way, is not the same as being aligned with truly who you are. When I think about that we want to keep the peace, that we want to have everything go hunky-dory and smooth sailing and all these wonderful words that we use for it, there is a cost when we're shrinking and we're not speaking up for what we truly believe in, what we really believe in. Shrinking feels small at the moment. It's like, it's just one more thing. But you know what? It compounds over time. When you speak, but you're not clear or you're not clear of what you want, you dilute your message. It's some wishy-washy sentence or feedback that never gets to the heart of what it is that you really want to say. You stay calm on the outside, but you justify that calmness. Although you may be raging inside, but you say, okay, I'm staying calm, but you're never really dealing with what's going on. And of course, we replay the conversations. And we said, I should have said, I could have said, why didn't I say, like with my job exit from the health club, we always replay those conversations and they drive us crazy. They drive us nuts because it's not productive. And I know you, like me, have been up at 3 a.m. and had these conversations in our head of what we could say, what we should say. Why didn't we say this? And we are replaying it, but there's no real solution to what happens because you never bring up that conversation with somebody else. And you also question your delivery. I should have been more calm. I should have been more understanding. I should have, could have, whatever. We always find an explanation why we question why our delivery wasn't on par. The next time you want to speak up, you hesitate even more. You play back what's in your head and you adjust yourself faster next time and you trust yourself less. And I think the uncomfortable truth about this is every time you shrink mid-sentence, you reinforce that your full voice is unsafe. And I don't mean using curse words or bad language, but what's truly happening, we feel there's nothing wrong with being safe, wanting to be safe, but we also need to stop shrinking. Let's not dim our light anymore. You may be thinking, Heike, this is probably a communication skills. I need to take a class on better communication, which never hurts. But it isn't about finding better words. It's about where you're standing when you say them. And I mean within you. Before you speak, you may already have positioned yourself somewhere. And that is okay, that position, if that is with my switching the job, my position was that I wanted to branch out on my own, be an independent contractor, and just do Pilates. But I didn't feel that I could say the words. I was insecure, and you may be standing in fear of judgment because your words carry that. So the words you say matter. If you're standing in fear of losing approval, your tone changes that, or you change that tone. People can feel it. You can feel and hear the fear. But if you're standing in alignment with what your message is and what you truly believe, your body is steady. It's not about, this is what I said at my last speech, and I think that carries in really well here with this episode, is that when you're stepping into a room with confidence and steadiness, the room changes. And that change changes you. And you don't need to be louder. All you need is already within you. Feel steadier. Feel more together, I almost said. It's okay to want that. Before your next hard conversation, I want you to pause. Ask one honest question before you say another word. And here's what I want you to ask yourself. What am you, protecting right now? Do you look for approval? Are you looking for being liked by everybody in the room I'm just replaying when I spoke last at the club? Do I want to portray a certain image, or do I want to look a certain way externally? Am I potentially wanting to avoid discomfort? And discomfort is growth if looked at it the right way. Do I look competent? Do I keep everything smooth and really together in a reasonable sense? Don't fix it. Don't rewrite your script. Just notice where you're standing. Notice changes in how you speak. Speak your truth. Speak with what's aligned with you. You can't have approval from everybody. Not everybody likes you. Not everybody's going to like the outfit you have. There will be some sort of discomfort. Sometimes you will not look as competent as you thought, but that changes with the day, and not everything has to be smooth. You can align your speaking with where you are in life. And as always, we are here to take action and pursue your spark. What does alignment feel like in real time? It is not louder, but it's steadier. Think of yourself as standing very steady on 2 feet, wherever you are, wherever you have your conversations. It's steadier and you feel it before anyone else does. It's, the power pose that we sometimes see from our superhero females. And imagine you're in that power pose. And alignment sounds more like, I don't need to do this perfectly, or this conversation have to go perfectly. I can tolerate discomfort. I trust myself even if I'm misunderstood. I love those. It doesn't need to go perfect. I can tolerate discomfort. I trust myself, your internal trust, even when I'm misunderstood. And you do not have to over-explain, shrink mid-sentence, or emotionally collapse afterwards and think, oh my God, I wish I had. There's no replaying it for hours. Leaving the conversation intact and trust that you did the right thing, that you are on the right path to speaking up, to owning your own right. And speak up isn't the goal overall, although we did talk a lot about it today. Standing fully within you, within your power is. And midlife isn't asking you to speak up more and do more, but it's asking you to stop disappearing while you do. Speaking up isn't the problem. Shrinking is while you speak. You don't need a better delivery. You need a steadier footing. The next time, think of that power pose I mentioned. I would like you to pause before you speak. When you pause, you take a moment and step back. And we sometimes, in jargon here, in our world of health, midlife, and fitness, we're often talking about ask your why. In this case, I would say, notice what you're protecting. What is it that is most vulnerable right now, and you're not standing fully in what it is that aligns you, that really chooses you as the person to deliver this, choosing alignment over being acceptable. And this is where, my friend, self-trust growth, because speaking up in midlife isn't the problem. What we talked about today is that you're not trusting where you're going, what you believe in, and it's time that you speak up. Before you speak up again this week, pause and ask yourself, am I trying to be understood, or am I trying to stay acceptable? Because for many women, this doesn't stop at speaking carefully. It slowly turns into not speaking at all, not because they don't care, but because risking tension starts to feel more costly than staying quiet. And that's when the distance begins. Next time, we're looking at what happens when silence becomes your way of coping, and the cost most women don't notice until they feel disconnected from themselves.